When I say distance running, what do most people think of? Well, if you're most people, you think of pain and soreness. Well, as a long distance runner, I can tell you that most long distance runners have knee problems. Knee pain is a big issue. Um, and one of the problems is that most people aren't wearing the right shoes when they run. Now, most of us know you don't wear shoes that aren't made for running. For example, you don't wear a basketball shoe or a walking shoe designed for those sports because they just can't handle the pressures of running, the impacts and things like that. They don't perform as well as a good running shoe does. Find a shoe that fits you properly to run is the key to long-term running and being able to run long into the future. Hi, my name is Steve. I've been a runner all my life, and I've bought countless shoes, expensive shoes, $150 to $30 running shoes, and I've tried them all. And big running fan, great way to stay in shape, keep your cardiovascular system going, lose weight. So many advantages of running if you do it properly in your entire life, not just for fun. I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about problem with running shoes. We're going to talk a little bit about the problem with the shoes. We're going to talk about the differences in running shoes, and we're going to talk about how to find the right shoe to fit you, your running style, and your feet. First, let's talk about the problem with running shoes. The main problem is that the running shoes just weren't designed for the pronation of your foot. Now, a lot of people are saying pronation. He just made that word up. That's a Bush thing. President Bush making up words. But actually, pronation is when your foot heel hits the ground, your foot goes forward and rolls forward, and it tilts slightly in. About 15 degrees is what most people do. That's called pronation. Too much pronation is called overpronation. You're over-rotating your foot. And basically, this puts your angle in your knees at a funny angle, and it doesn't absorb the shock right. If you don't pronate enough or rotate enough, then you have what's known as underpronation. And with the fact that pronation helps your feet absorb the shock of running, it's important because it sets your ankle joints and your knees to absorb more of the shock, which leads to problems. Maybe you don't feel them right then and there, but after years of running, you will have those problems. And a lot of people say high dollar shoes. I bought $150 pair of shoes. Well, if you've got the wrong shoes for your running style or your feet, for example, you have overpronation and you got an underpronation shoe, you're going to have worse problems than anyone. Well, that's a little bit about the problem with your feet and running shoes. I'm going to tell you what you can do. You're saying, well, I can't change my feet. Well, there's different shoes. Basically, all high-dollar manufacturers of shoes, all good quality shoes, Nikes, Brooks, any of them, Rebalance, New Balance, make a good quality running shoe. Now, most people look at a shoe, they look at the color, they look at how it fits, they've squeezed the toe, but there's a lot of different parts to a shoe. There's basically three types we're concerned with, and I'm going to give you an example of one. This is a Brooks running shoe, popular running shoe. Now, most people look at this area here, and they see how gray it is. It's white over here and gray over here. Now, this is actually my running shoe. I overpronate. And what this gray is this is high-density foam. Low-density foam on the outside, high-density foam. So when your shoe hits the ground, my foot tends to overpronate, so the high-density foam doesn't compact as much, which forces my foot back to a neutral position, which aligns my ankle and my knee to the proper position, reducing the stress and shock. This is a good example of a neutral shoe. No high-density foam on either side. See, and a lot of times you can actually have high-density foam on the outside for underpronation, and that same concept. It turns your foot back to where it is, lines your ankles. Without any of this, you can have severe problems with your feet, and eventually leading to ankle and knee problems. Of course, a neutral shoe is for a normal pronating person, like the Nike here. No high-density foam on either side. Okay, lastly, I'd like to talk to you about how and where to find the right shoes for you. Now, a lot of people think this is a big deal, but it's not. There's a lot of home remedies you can do. The best thing to do is to go to a good running store, not one of those mall stores. Those guys are really good salesmen, and they can tell you a lot about the shoe, but they don't really understand the mechanics of running and how your feet and legs operate. They just know they got a pretty shoe, they want to sell it, they want to sell the most expensive shoe they can possibly do. Uh, what a good running store will do is they'll look at your feet. They'll put your foot in water, have you make a footprint on a piece of paper. They can look at that footprint, how your foot hits the ground. They can watch you walk barefoot away from them. And then they can even look at your old running shoes. If you were to have a worn out side over here, that means you're tilting to that side. And what a lot of people have problems with in this is, these shoes are a great help, but those stores are very expensive. Here's what I did. After I spent countless dollars on cheap shoes, expensive shoes, getting the wrong ones, having knee problems, this hurting, that hurting, I went to a good store when I couldn't afford it, and I had them look at my feet, and they told me what kind I needed, like this, high density foam on the inside for overpronating, and then I simply looked around and said, no thank you, I'll consider it, and walked out. And then I went to another store that sold the shoes for $40 cheaper. It's better to buy the right shoe the first time can save you money. You can think of it that way, even if you buy the more expensive one. Or think of how good it's going to make your feet feel in the distance and the knees, like that. Or, like I said, you can go to the cheaper store and save money that way. But either way, it's cheaper than buying a dozen shoes and having them not feel right. Okay, to sum it all up, we've talked a little bit about the problem with running shoes. We've talked about the differences in the soles of running shoes and what the problem is with running shoes, and how you can find the right shoe for your feet for long running. I think we can all see that if you buy the right shoe, not just the most expensive shoe, but the right shoe for your foot, you can have countless hours of running and exercise and great workouts in the future.